Hello, and welcome to the So Tru Network. It's where your truth and my truth intersect and we find liberty.
I do think that once you kind of set the culture and set the vision statement and the mission statement of the family, as they grow up, it's something that you want them to fall into and
Right.
feel a sense of honor and pride, and a sense of the legacy piece of saying, "Hey, I realize that I'm standing on the shoulders of other family members who helped us get to this point.
Yeah.
I don't want to be the one who messes that."
Exactly. Right.
So I think that's important. But for many of us, for many Black families, and there are some out there that have that legacy, that had that piece that we can stand on. I want to set it up because I do believe that our parents planted seeds.
Yeah.
They may not have necessarily had all the tools or the education, but I think that they planted little seeds in us that they grow. Some of them, it's like going out and just throwing seeds out everywhere, and eventually they'll start sprouting up, and you're like, wonder where that came from, right? And so I think my parents kind of planted seeds. They may have not articulated it in the same way, but this sense of loving each other and sticking together as a family, and also recognizing that, what's the thing they say? All kinfolk ain't kinfolk. I also realize that we have a very large tribe of folks who are not necessarily blood relatives, but really their value systems are the same as ours.
Right.
They want the same thing, even though their families may be small or large, but we've gravitated towards each other.
Exactly.
I mean, Dawn, you're very much so a part of that. You've been a mentor to our children. But our son worked for you. So and now here he is, he's off.
Even
doing
when
his
he
own
almost
thing.
was under
That's
right?
right.
But
He took what he needed.
He took what he needed, and now he's passed.
Yeah.
He's done all of the things, but he needed that space.
Got
to
all these
grow and figure it out.
licenses, and then he's talking about.
And you're talking about the seeds. And I think that goes to the exposure. We have to start exposing our kids to those things and even allowing ourselves to not have shame. And I think, Josh, I'm thinking of, we had a conversation. I want to shift this kind of to interjecting this financial component, because I think that that's a little bit of what we missed. And maybe our parents didn't have the financial resources. And we're a little bit in a situation where we have discretionary income. I call this First Generation Discretionary Income. Well, we have a little bit left over where we can do some things. And Josh, I love the way that you talked about how when your wife zoomed in on your finances, like that's where you started to see the shift.
Yeah, for sure. Because I think we were working on something, and my wife overheard us on a Zoom, and she was like, that's the same time we transitioned when she took over the budget. And
talking about this too.
I think about my wife, she is very, very detail oriented. So she started finding all these little cracks and little things that we were spending, and she found out about your class, and she started taking that, and I'm like, I need to do the budget back because she's so detail oriented, and started finding all these little holes and things. But through that process, I felt like I was able to look at money in a different way, because for me, and I'm a very frugal person. I shop at Goodwill. I don't spend a lot of money. But I started looking at, and she was identifying these holes of, man, we spent $800 eating out. And I was like, how could this even be possible? Almost $1,000 just eating out.
Yeah.
And I'm saying here, I haven't fixed that yet, but
Love your honesty.
But just the awareness of okay, no, we need to have this amount of money in savings. We need to have this amount of money for emergencies, just those types of experiences. And I'm thinking about what everybody's saying. I think a big part of it is our parents did the best they could, but the truth of it is, even though they did the best they could, there's things that we have to take to the next level.
Absolutely. Right. I agree with that.
Because, like they say, little known, little required. We know more, so we have to do more. We have to be more intentional with how we are sharing the knowledge that we're gaining, and understanding that I love your analogy with your cousin about the hotel room.
Right.
There are times where you don't know the experiences that you are having until you can have somebody look at it through their lens.
Yeah.
Because I think that's very powerful too. If we get to the place of, I have to try to consistently evolve as a person, right? But I also have to have people that are around me that can help me evolve by looking at me and giving me a real perspective of who I really am.
Sure.
People that, you trust and, you trust their discernment. So, yeah, that's that.
No, I'm glad you picked up on that, because I think as men, right, I think society has kind of taught us that, like, we're men, we're supposed to be in charge of the checkbook, and we're supposed to do this and that. And so
in charge of everything.
In charge of everything. But it does. But it puts a tremendous amount of pressure on it, because I also recognize, like, this budgeting thing and keeping up with finances, it's not my thing.
Right.
And the second I relinquished that and turned that over to the two of them, it became okay for me. Like, I'm happy to get my little wad of money that's got little stickers on it and say, this is how much you can spend on this, and this is how much you can spend on this.
Oh, it was pushback at first.
It was, and I'll admit it. So we operated on this envelope system, but I can't walk around with a bunch of envelopes in my pocket. So I got these little tabs inside of my wallet. And so it's funny, from time to time, I'll go get my haircut. I pull my haircut money off, and I have to snatch off my little note before I give it to them, right? But again, it's allowed us to thrive. I think we got to get out of this thing of, like, having these roles of, like,
these gender roles.
These gender roles, like, this is what we're supposed to do. And there's certain things, like, they ain't gonna take out no trash unless they absolutely have to.
Right.
There's certain things that, like, I know that they'll jump in when they have to, or vice versa. I'm not afraid to wash clothes or wash dishes or cook. They like my cooking, But I do think that we have to kind of tear down some of those misconceptions in order for us to thrive. Yeah. And, like, I just know that I don't know, my father has passed. I don't know if he were alive, or I would tell him certain things about how I'm running my household, whether he would agree or disagree. But I think at the end of the day, it's really about, are we thriving? Are we successful at it? And I think that's what's probably important.
Sure.
I was going to go back to what you were saying about the budget and seeing, how your wife, was trying to, pointed out how much you were spending on. I think that's where the problem lies. Finances and personal things are so personable for people.
Oh, it is.
They're not open enough to have that conversation because they don't want anybody to tell them they're doing something wrong. But, because I worked with my brother on his budget, and to your point, that was the same thing. When I wrote down, I took his checking account and I went through it line by line, highlighting different colors. And when but
Ingram, he's coming out.
He was like, when I told him how much he was spending out on food, his was like in the thousands too. He was like, my God, I didn't realize that I was spending that amount of money. And then we had to have a real conversation. Like, now now how can we make this better? I think that as our people, I think trying to allow themselves to really look into, because people don't, how I know my dad was an advocate with his checking account. You write a check, you balance your checkbook. We don't do that anymore. Right. We think that every time we swipe, it's supposed to be approved, and we don't think about the after effects. Like, my God, now I really don't have no money. But where my question always, like, to my brother, where did your money go? Yeah. I can account, as I do our budget, I can account for where every dime goes. Every dime.
No, and she's serious. We had a conversation this morning. She's like, my check was $30. Sure. I know it's not a lot of money. It's just $30. But I am going to make a call on Monday so I can figure out where it goes. And I get it.
But I think that's going back to the reboot and how do we change the conversation about finances. I think we have to tell our people that it's okay. You know what I'm saying? But in order for you to build and to do, I hate for people to say, oh, how are you able to go on that vacation? I can't afford that. No, you really can.
Mhm.
You really
It's about
can
choices.
afford, because the same thing someone else does, you can do it too. It's not it's not far fetched. Yeah, it's not that you can't do these things and you can't take your family on lavish vacations and things like that. But you just have to plan accordingly. And one of the things we do with our children a lot of the times is our kids are very athletic. They're into things. They're in social groups. And we have 2 seniors, but I started planning early. I knew they were graduating. I knew they were coming to be seniors. I didn't wait until their senior year to say, okay, I want them to be able to do everything everybody else does. If it's a senior trip, I want our children to participate.
Right.
If they're going somewhere, I want our children. I don't want it to be like, oh, no, we can't afford that. No, you're going. If you want to go to the prom, I want you to go to the prom. I don't want it to be like we're stuck, but we plan in advance for that. And I think that's the conversation we don't have in our collective families on what that looks like, and sitting them down and saying, okay, if you want to do this, even with our children that's working now, they want things, and we have to have conversation with them saying, okay, if you want to do this, you have X amount of paychecks. How much money you gonna pull from your paycheck so you can have
your contribution. Our contribution should be greater than yours.
But
some skin in the game.
Right. But those are the things that I think is missing from our day-to-day conversation in our homes, with our families. And, and children need to understand what this looks like. We had a conversation with our children, and we had to tell them, this is how much mortgage is. This is how much light bill is. This, and I want y'all to add all of this up.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah,
it goes back to that whole business
and
thing.
With my parents, I never knew finance.
Me.
And I they shielded that from me. Like you just don't. I never had.
I had to write the money order. I was very young because my parents, their educational level was in grade school.
Right.
So we had to write out money orders and all the things. So we were integrated into that process at a very early time. And my mother was like, give this money order to Susan.
Right.
She knew the name of the person at the light bill company.
Right.
Get a receipt.
Yeah.
And so I feel very blessed that they engaged us at an early age because we needed to be a part of the process.
I had no clue. And then when you get out there, you're like oblivious to like even how things go. I know and I think not to cut you off because I know you want to make a point. It's personal finance.
Yeah.
So it's personal, right?
Right?
And I remember a conversation that you and I had early on, and you were saying like, a lot of my business doesn't necessarily come from our people, just simply because people don't want me to know where they're at financially.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest with you, Dawn, it changed. That conversation that we had actually is the reason why we do business with you. Because it made me say to myself, like, well, that would be stupid of me. She has all of the knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
She has a product. She has a skill. Here I am running around trying to find everybody. So our son just recently, we had a little accident, right? I say we, right?
Right.
So it was good. I'm talking to the people, the State Farm people, and they're like, well, is your agent Don Johnson? Yeah, it is. And she was like, well, we can reach out. You don't have to reach out. I'll see Dawn. Don't worry. We got the personal relationship. Yeah, we got a personal relationship.
Yeah.
And so, I just don't think that we've got to we've got to take our egos out of things in order for us to grow. And I think somehow or another, we've got in such competition with each other.
And it's
about every little thing. Yeah. And it just, it really stifles our growth because we look at what other people have and we got to compare ourselves to what they have and not recognizing that their journey is not our journey. Mm-hmm. How they got to that place, I don't know. They could have gotten an inheritance. They able to live like that. I don't have that inheritance. And so it's just.
And that's why I tell people all the time, I was like, I have a team for a reason because I only will know what's going on if you engage me.
Yeah.
So my team is doing all that. I'm not going through looking, for anyone's account. And I'm like, if you call me or you set an appointment with me, then you're saying, okay, I want you to be a part of this discussion.